Hello, hello. I think we're good to go. So I'm going to be trying out another live stream. I'm still testing out the equipment, the volume, the audio, the video, just seeing if it all works. Today we're going to be having a look at Firebase. So they've recently introduced the new Firebase JavaScript SDK, which, if you're familiar with Firebase, reduces the bundler size as well as breaking APIs, etc. So what we're going to do, or what we're going to try to do, I think the volume's okay. What we're going to try to do is we're going to migrate a very simple application. So I did a YouTube tutorial at some point on Firebase, very simple to-do app, very quick. What we're going to try to do is we're going to try and migrate it to V9. So that was V8, I think it is. So library. Oh, that's not going to show there, is it? Your videos. There we go. But yeah, there's a blog here. I'll add that to the description, introducing the new Firebase SDK. I'm going to just be checking, again, notifications, making sure that the volume's okay. Cool. So new API, slightly different from what we're used to. It's not too big a change. So I played around with this just before coming on stream. I think it's easily doable. So the main kind of premise of this is they've removed the side effect imports. So if you read this blog, you'll see it, but the side effect imports what they had. So what they had, let me just show you here, is, where is it? Firebase here. So they had these imports here, which are called side effect imports. We're not importing a specific module or a function or anything. We're just importing kind of, well, technically I think it is a module. We're just importing a bunch of code, and I think, to keep it a relatively high level, I think it makes it more difficult for the bundlers to basically eliminate dead code or code that isn't used. So if we import Firestore or Auth, actually Auth is the big one. If you import Auth, it's importing everything, all the code to do with all the providers, Google, Microsoft, everything, even if you're just using one of them. So what you want is, well, what they've changed it to anyways, is importing specific functions, I guess, and then that basically enables tree shaking, which reduces the bundle size. There we go. Optimized for tree shaking, reduces the bundle size. The image here suggests quite big changes. So app is 28% smaller. Auth can be up to 72% smaller, 2540. So that's quite big changes. You can see version 8 there, version 9 here. That's the changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to check this app. This app is, I was just going to find it here on my channel. Firebase. Yeah, so I did a Firebase app. It's a very simple to-do app. We'll see it. I'll run it in a moment. Oh, I clicked the wrong one there. Anyways, very simple to-do app. We'll try to get that running, make sure it's all working, and then we will upgrade to V9 and see the difference. It shouldn't be long at all. I'm just gonna make sure this audio is okay-ish. I'm gonna put the levels there. Enigma Timson, hello. How you doing? Cool. Yeah. So let's get started. This might be a bit slow at times because I'm not fully prepared for this, but I guess that's the good thing about the live stream is I don't need to do too much preparation. That's how I have time for it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have time. So yeah, I'll just play around. And if you've got any suggestions or anything, let me know. If I'm doing anything silly, hopefully someone can help me out, because I definitely won't see it or catch it. So I'm just gonna. I have all my YouTube tutorials in a repo, and I've literally just copied one of them, the Firebase tutorial. Now it's Firebase V9 tutorial. I need to put the music down a bit. I'll do that in a second. There we go. Cool. Everything's running ridiculously slow now because I've started streaming, so you have to bear with me a bit. Well, actually, I'll walk through the app while we're doing that. So we have the Firebase JSON. This is where we basically have the high-level imports. So we have the main import of the app. We have our side effect imports, and this is hopefully what we're going to change to eliminate the bundle size. We initialize the app. I believe we might have to pass in some details here for this to work. I think we do. I don't think it lets you. I don't think it works otherwise. We have, in this case, we're using Firebase, Firestore, and functions. So Firestore just to store some of the to-dos. We have functions. I think I just added that to detect duplicates. So that just, if you try to add a duplicate or two to-dos with the same name, it's gonna prevent it from happening. So it's actually the function that stores the to-do item in the database, and then we're basically we've got a live kind of connection to Firestore for the real-time updates. And then we just we're using emulator here, so I'm going to run this all locally. I'm not going to connect it up to Firebase. Hopefully that'll work fine. And then we're just exporting Firebase. So one thing I am actually doing here is I've got a package which is called React Firebase hooks, which we need to remove from the code base. That's one thing I need to do. Okay. So let me jump into functions as well. So this is a standard kind of Firebase layout. If you've ever worked with Firebase, you should be familiar with this. It's just it's a create React app, and then once you initialize Firebase, you've got your standard app, some of the config files, and then you have this functions directory for your functions, and that's basically a separate npm package. And of course, so I am on node 14 now. So that was a while ago when I last did that. Okay. Cool. Let's just run that, and I think one final adjustment to the volume. And I'll try to speak a bit louder. Yeah. Doing fine. How about you? I'm doing good. I've got a bit of time. It's a Saturday, but the little one's sleeping, and I've got hopefully an hour or so where I can play around with this new Firebase and actually double check the bundle size. So let's make sure everything's working first as well. So to run the functions, I think we can just do, yeah, here we go. Serve. And I'm going to run start here as well. Actually, I'm not going to run serve because I need the Firestore as well. So what we need to do is npx Firebase emulators start. And that's the one. So this is going to start the emulator locally, and we'll just see if the app's working. So let's close these two. And let's head over to localhost. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly try to remove the. So I was saying earlier, I'm going to try to remove this Firebase React hooks. So that's just basically a package that. It just uses Firebase under the hood, but it just abstracts things away to hooks. It's not been updated yet. The V9 is still in beta, so this will have time. It's actually, yeah, it's not been updated yet. So I'll remove that to just use pure Firebase SDK, and then we can quickly update. Yeah, we can then update it to V9 to see how that looks. I mean, have a quick look at the API. I'm not a huge fan of the API. It's a bit weird to use. You'll see what I mean when we start using it. But I mean, it does reduce the bundle size, which I guess we'll see. But yeah, the API is not intuitive to play around with. Cool. While that's starting, that's taking a while to start as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a build. Let's see if that works. Cool. This is taking a really long time to start. There we go, finally. Cool. So I think we've got a problem straight away. I know exactly what the problem is as well. Firebase here. So Firebase will expect, if I think it will expect a few parameters here. One of them is the API key. I think that just needs to be there. Doesn't really need to be valid. If I refresh that, especially because I'm using the emulator here. So because I'm on localhost, it's going to use the emulator for everything. API key needs to be there. There's another, I think 2, and it will tell me what it is. Project ID needs to be here. Test, and I think that should be enough for now. I think there is an auth domain that needs to be there as well. And we'll need to change the project ID in a moment. So let's just refresh this guy. Cool, the project ID is in fact in the Firebase JSON at the top level. So, oh, or maybe not. Firebase RC? Yeah, I think it's this guy. That should be fine. Okay, cool. So we've got the app running. That's great. Good first step. Sign in with Google. It should. Cool. Emulator. Obviously, I have no account, so I'm going to add a new account here. Auto generate. Otter orange. I like it. Sign in with Google. Oops. Oh, did that refresh? Let me try that again. Olive grass now. There we go. So now we're into the app. And what I'm going to do here is actually, so we should on the left hand side here have the Firebase emulator running, localhost 4000. So let's run that. Cool. Firestore emulator here. Let's make this a bit smaller. And we've got the functions here, logs, there we go. And we have the authentication here, so we can see our one user, Olive Grass. So if I add a test item here, let's see if that works. So that's added, so we should see that here. That's all working fine. To-dos, there's our user ID, and then we have complete, which is whether it's complete or not. We have the text, and this is actually the date, but it doesn't, or the timestamp doesn't quite come out right in the emulator. But you can see there's field values. Yeah, basically represents the server timestamp. You should be able to click that. So when we click it, the complete is true and false. That's what it does, and then we can just delete them. And if I try add test twice or more than one time, it's not going to let it, and that's the logs being kicked in. Got some notifications there, but yeah, the logs are being kicked in there. Cool. So the app's working, so that's good. So what we're going to do quickly, like I said, is let's remove that package and fix it, and then we'll quickly migrate, and that'll be that today. So cool. I've also done a build here, and I'm going to keep this terminal because I want to see this. This is as is, and then I want to see it after we've migrated. So got 1 kilobytes. Am I in the right directory yet? So if we do what was it, du-h build, I think my build directory at this point is 4.7 megabytes. Cool, so we'll check that later. Cool, all right, let's do, you want to remove React Firebase hooks. And if I head over to the app, so this is the first place I use this hook, right? The use auth state hook. There we go. And I can just, so if I go to Firebase docs, I can quickly check. So this is basically a wrapper for the on auth state change. I can't remember the exact function, but we'll double check it just now. What this is basically going to be replaced with is we're going to have a use state here. The user is going to be null by default. So we'll add the set user, and then we're going to have a use effect here. The use effect, I believe, is going to So we're just passing an empty dependency array so it doesn't continuously render or re-render. Let's add that import. And what this is going to do is this is going to subscribe to the auth changes. So authentication, web, getting started. Let's go into that. Hello, Mush159. Hey Mush, how's it going? Firebase auth. Ah, yeah, there we go. So on auth state change. That's the function, and we've already exported this auth function, Firebase.auth. We've already exported that from here. There we go. So what we're just going to do is we're going to do auth dot on auth state changed, and we get the user back here. So basically, we just want to set the user. I think it should be just like that. Set the user. So let's jump back in here actually. So we sign out, we sign in, still have our user. Yeah, okay. So we can sign in. This is, I guess it's working for now, but I need to restart that. Okay, so let's jump into our to-dos and let's remove use collection data. So again, this is another hook that subscribes to the Firestore changes and basically updates the to-dos. So we have the reference to the collection that we're passing in, and we're just telling it to also add the ID. So what we're going to do here, very similar thing, use state. It's going to be empty array. So this is my to-dos list, set to-dos. And then we're just going to add a use effect. It's going to be, again, very similar. That's only going to run once at the start. And this one is going to do, if we jump over to Firestore and read data, listen for real-time updates. Not bad over here too. I'm not sure, there is a bit of a lag when you guys are I guess, chatting. So I'm a few seconds behind, or maybe you guys are actually a few seconds behind. I'm not sure how long exactly, but hopefully it's not too far off. DB collection. Okay, so I need to basically do, so DB here, I've got that as Firestore here. So Firestore dot collection. Oh, actually I've already got it here to use ref. I think I can just take this guy. Firestore dot collection. Or let's just do to-dos ref dot on snapshot. And actually what I want is I want to listen to multiple, this is the one here, on snapshot, and then we get back a query snapshot. This is always slightly weird. So the query, this snapshot here, we need to go for docs, and then we need to map through it. So it's got a map function, it's a mappable object. And each one of these brings back a doc, and it's the doc.data. I think that's what we're looking for, if I remember correctly. So let's log this and just see if we're getting everything right here. So let's jump back to the app. Keep the console out. So another test. Let's just refresh here. Yeah, so that's right. That's everything. Oh, the only thing that's missing actually is the data doesn't actually provide the ID. The ID comes from the document itself. So let's wrap this in an object. We can spread the data, and we can just add the ID. So doc.id, doc.id, because we need the ID there, so we can then delete and update later on. So let's refresh that quickly. Cool, that's perfect. All right, so now we can just set the to-dos. Set to-dos. There we go. And I think that should be as done. there we go. So I can still do that. Okay, perfect. So the app basically works. I can add some to-dos and I can complete them. Okay, cool. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna upgrade to v9 and see how that is. So we've got, again, we've got the size. Our build directory at this point is 4.7 megabytes. We've got the build steps here, so we can see after gzip. I guess the biggest one is 278 kilobytes. So we'll see the difference once we're done here. All right, cool. So let's do yarn ads, and there is actually a migration, I think, Firebase migrate to v9. There's a migration kind of guide. It doesn't have everything, but definitely it's got it's got the kind of how to get started, and then we can look at the docs for the rest of them. So it's worth actually noting as well, if you're migrating to v9, they do have a compat API, which means even though you've migrated to v9, it's backward compatible, so you can still import the side effects imports, but you need to use the compat word there in between Firestore and author Firestore, Firebase, and etc. So I think that basically gives you kind of a phased migration. So we're not going to do that. We're just going to upgrade it and go for that. So yarn ads, Firebase beta. Let's do that. So we've got Firebase 8.2.3 for now, and that should go up to 9. How's the volume? Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear the music okay? Can you hear the fan of the laptop struggling? Yeah, that's a good question, Mush. I think I was explaining at the start, because I'm using Firebase, I assume it's mainly Firebase. When you've got these side effect imports, it basically imports all the code that Firebase, and that gets bundled, all of it. So there's no kind of tree shaking or anything there. I can't remember the exact reason why, but I mean, I think they go into it in their blog. But basically, it's difficult with these side effect imports to understand. For the module bundlers, it's difficult for them to know what code is not being used or which one's the dead code. So it basically just says, let me bring everything, and I guess they're just quite big. It'd be interesting to actually dive into exactly what's going on, but I think that's the main of it. The bulk of it is there. These side effect imports, it's just bringing everything from auth. If you think about it, I mean, here I'm just using Google authentication, but it's got all the different providers, and same with Firestore and functions. I think auth was the biggest one. Yeah, you can see here auth itself is 63 kilobytes. Firestore's, well, actually, not Firestore's bigger as well. There's a bunch of features in there. They've also got this, actually, another cool thing as well. They've got this Firebase Lite, kind of a new thing here. Yeah, Firebase Lite. So if you only care about subscribing, I'm going to turn the volume down for the music. If you only care about subscribing to updates, and you're not really too bothered about listeners, etc., I think basically you can use that. So and that way you don't need to import the entire, all the Firestore functions there. So let me play around with one more thing on the music side. So I think cool. Okay. Hopefully that's the music down a bit. Okay, cool. So no fan noise. I can hear the fan noise very loud. Okay, cool. Let's go back to so we've added beta there. So let's see. 9, yeah, so 900, that's fine. And what we're going to do is, the very first thing we do is this modular imports that they have here. So we're going to start off with the Firebase JSON here. So instead of Firebase from app, Let's see, where's the documentation? I thought they had that somewhere here. There we go. Initialize app. So you're importing the function directly. Initialize app, and we're gonna have initialize app here as a function, and that's gonna return basically our Firebase app. Firebase app equals initialize app. So we'll keep that there, and then we have our auth Firestore functions all fine, but we're gonna import functions from there. And you'll see a pattern where they have all these get auth, basically getters for all the different modules. So there'll be a get auth, get Firestore, get functions. That should look something like this. So get auth, get Firestore, get functions. From that should be fine. I think that's all right. And then we can, I believe we can just use these functions instead of all of this. So let's just remove these guys here, and we pass in the Firebase app. So that's basically the changes right there. Also, they have actually functions for the emulators. So let's have a look what that looks like. And I'm not sure why, but I found with this, my IntelliSense isn't quite picking up the new library. I'm not sure if I need to restart or anything, but yeah, we can just dive in and find it, I guess. Just dive into here, hack the matrix. They did have an emulator function here. Emulator, connect Firestore emulator. There we go. So each of them had a connect module emulator, basically. So connect Firestore module emulator. I think there's a connect functions emulator, and a connect auth emulator. And again, we can just use these. I think they're taking the same parameters. I don't think that's changed. I still don't understand why the auth emulator is slightly different. You need to put in the full URI there, whereas these two work fine, but that's fine for now. Cool. So I think I'm just double checking. Yeah. So one thing I forgot is they've got this. This is the part that I don't really like with their APIs. They have all the functions, and you need to kind of repass in the instance, the instance for your package, right? So for every function that you use, and you'll see this layer. So connect auth emulator, we actually need to repass in the auth instance, and same with Firestore, and same with functions. Which just gets a bit weird. It's a weird API. I can see why it's easy. Well, I can see why it's easy to do that. Can you separate? You can almost make all these functions pure, and then just pass in the instances that you need, and just call functions on the instances. But it just makes it less nice to read, because auth dot, I think something like this would have been better, which is basically what they had before. But yeah, anyways, I think that's enough there. Let's check how the app's doing actually. Is this just not going to work for a while? Yeah, it's not going to work. Connect functions emulator is not connect. That's because I'm missing the C there. cool. I think we got a bit further this time, so that's actually getting to the app. All right, well let's move on and just see how we're. Oops. Let's see how we're getting on. Still seems to think connect functions emulator not. So these are. It still seems to think these are not exported. It might be because I need to restart. So let me restart because I have updated the import. So I'm going to restart that. And while we're doing that, we'll just get basically moving on to the next part. So let's head over to the app, and we'll look at the auth on state changed first. So if we head over to the documentation, authentication, web, and I guess get started is a good place. You can basically see that they've got the web v9 documentation in there too. Cool. It's getting quite warm, so I'm gonna open this window a bit. Hopefully it's not going to be too loud. So v9, let's click on that, and you can see that basically they're going to be providing functions for you from the export. So if I search for on auth state change, that just basically becomes an exported function. So instead of just taking our auth, what we're going to have to do is get the on auth state change directly from Firebase auth. I'm not sure what the best way to do this as well is now, because I've got some things exported previously from my Firebase, and now I'm exporting functions from auth directly, but I'll leave it like that for now. So now instead of calling the functions on auth, we remove that and we basically pass it through as the first parameter, as you can see here. Can't resolve Firebase. Where's that? App. Can't resolve Firebase. Well, that's not good. All right, let's stop this for a second. Things are going a bit crazy. Let's go back to our package JSON. Make sure everything's okay here. So we definitely have Firebase here. The question is, do we even need? Yeah, I don't think we need this one anymore anyways. So let's, I think that one, if we look here, and we look for the Google sign-in. So let's change this one here. We're gonna go to, here we go. So again, that comes from the auth package, so we're gonna get the Google provider. And provider is equal to new Google auth provider, so it should just be like this, I believe. Sounds about right. And I think that's that. So let me run this again and see if that works. Do you mean to do a relative import on line 3? Yeah, this one is meant to be a relative import. So I'm doing a bit weird, I guess, because so what I've got here is I'm exporting auth Firestore functions here. So this is basically what they, in their documentation, I guess everywhere you're using auth, you're meant to get auth. And here, actually, in this part of the documentation, they're not actually providing the Firebase app into get auth, which is interesting. That's part of the migration guide, so I'm not actually sure if that's really needed or not. I guess we'll see. Yeah, and here I just need to export. This is what I'm meant to be doing. I'm meant to be exporting Firebase app. So previously I'd imported basically everything from Firebase and exported that, and now I'm exporting Firebase app. I'm exporting the app itself. I don't actually know if I need this anywhere, so we'll see. And if not, we can remove that. So let's go back up to here. Functions call, but yeah, of course. Okay, so we've got a bit further now. so let's jump into the to-dos, and yeah, basically functions callable. Basically all these don't exist. So let's replace them. And again, it's going to be a case of instead of calling a function on the instance, we're going to be importing the functions and then passing in the instance. And let me take the imports. Okay, so I've got the import here actually. Oh no, I don't. Okay, let me jump over to functions. Call functions directly, call functions from your app. And there we go, web v9, all the way down the bottom here. Let's just look for HTTPS callable. Yeah, that's basically what I want. So again, we're going to basically remove the functions here and just pass it in as the first parameter. So that should get us past that issue. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for, actually let's just see how this is doing now. Okay. So we saw something, Firestore collection. Yeah, so now again, collections all the same. So let me find those imports. Firestore, read data, listen for real-time updates. So you can see there is a fair, you need to update all your code basically. It's breaking changes on all the APIs, but it's just a slight shift. Let me know what do you guys think of this API. I wonder if it's just me that finds it a bit weird to have to pass in the instance to every function call. So let's look for the listen to multiple questions. So this is basically what we have, but now it's this import here. Firestore, so we have collection, we remove Firestore and we basically pass in Firestore here. I think and then so instead of we need we've got on snapshot here, so we can use on snapshot and we pass in the reference. So first of all, we pass in the, let's see, on snapshot we're passing in the query here. Okay, so I think that's just this guy here, todo's ref. So I guess that should be called query. It's a more function way of thinking about it. Yeah, for sure, for sure. It feels like yeah, more functional approach, or yeah, I mean it feels like the kind of the instances I think of doing that is when I'm trying to create a pure function and I you know, helper method, I pass everything in. But I feel like if I've created like a core part of a system or of a package, I might not usually use that approach, but yeah, not that big a change, to be honest. So this is query. So they've wrapped the query in a query. I don't know why that's needed as well. Maybe because they've got where. So I don't know if I need the query, but I'll come back to that if I do. But anyways, so we've got the snapshot. The rest of it still stays the same. Server timestamp. Now I tried this earlier on, and I don't know how I found it because it's not quite easy to find in the docs. But I just know that this server timestamp, as well as, so you have basically accessible to you basically a few server functions that you might want to use when you're storing things in Firestore. One of them is server timestamp, and again, that's just another one that they export in Firestore. The way I think I actually found it is just by jumping in here, server timestamp. You can see that there. Server timestamp. Yeah. And that's that. Oh, that sign out. I think that just becomes sign out. Or does it? Let me leave that in for now. I think it does. We'll come back to that. Again, Firestore collection. Let's remove that. Firestore. Let me make this a bit bigger as well. Close this. And then the to-dos, we're setting to-dos. So yeah, this one's a bit weird as well. So we have the to-dos .doc. So we're getting a document from this collection, and then we're setting it, but that's going to be a bit different as well. So if we jump over to Firestore and we look at add data, we should see something a bit different. Yeah, set doc. So let's take from Firestore, let's take set doc. So let's do set doc, and we're passing in a document. So let's take doc. So we're passing in a document now, and the document that we're going to pass, let's see, needs to take in Firestore, it needs to take in is that right? Yeah. Takes in this collection, the to-dos ref here. So that's where the document's going to be found. And then instead of set here, it's just going to be a comma here. Okay, so I think that should be it. So passing in the doc. So this has actually got the ID here. Is there anything that? So yes, we don't have that ID anywhere. I think that needs to be part of this. Path here. Slash ID. Let's try that. I think that's the one. Yeah, and let's try the exact same for delete data. Delete data. Is that from Firestore? Yeah. Delete doc. And this is, I think that's pretty much the exact same. So delete doc. And we're passing in a document again. Remove basically all this guy. Oops. And the document is going to have a reference to the database, and then we're passing it in the path to the ID. I think that should be it. So city. Oh no, there's a comma and then there's an ID actually. So maybe that's cities. So we can do. Okay. So I guess this is what I forget, that you can just with these APIs you can basically. There we go. I think you can just continuously comma separate your path. So actually this is all in one, but this could be comma separated. Same here. So this could be also done like this, I believe. And that means you don't to-dos reference. All right. So I think that's a fair few changes. That means we don't need this Firebase anymore. Mush, I wonder if it's worth exporting a partially applied version of each of the new Firebase functions from your Firebase.js file to have save. Yeah, I think that probably would be best. Yeah, to save having to pass Firebase into them every time. Yeah, I think that would be best. Basically in here, yeah, exactly, because we're basically, yeah, abstract all that away so that we don't have to do it every time. I think that would be a better idea. Cool. I'll leave that out for now, just to look at until we get things working, and then we'll could play around with that, but yeah, that's probably the best shout. Okay, so let's see. We can try add. Oh, it's good old error. Cool. So we'll come back to that. But things seem to be working. Okay, so I can delete. Let's just make sure these things are deleting. Firestore. So let's go back to having one to do. That's fine. Let's add a to do. Yeah, I think that's it. Cool. So yeah, you can kind of see. Let's have a quick look at those changes. Actually, we won't be able to see the changes just now because I copied the other directory, but I should have committed it beforehand. That's fine. But yeah, you can basically see for most things we're just swapping the instance. Instead of calling a function on an instance, we're calling a function and passing in the instance. And that all helps with the tree shaking apparently. So let's, I guess the final thing that I want to do is let's rebuild this and see the size difference. I mean, that's the main thing here. API again is a bit different, I guess. But yeah, the main purpose of this is obviously a smaller bundle size. So let's just do a yarn build. And we've still got the results from previously. 4.7, 3.78. This might take a few seconds. My laptop's running a bit slow just now. Can't handle the streaming, as well as the coding, as well as the Chrome. Chrome and IntelliJ both take up a fair bit of CPU. Cool, and let's run du hbuild. Yeah, I mean, there you go. So I mean, if we compare them two side by side, that's gone from 4.7 to 2.6 megabytes. And after gzip, that is, yeah, this is a plus from when I last tried it. But that's, yeah, roughly, it's almost almost half the size, which is pretty crazy. For not that many changes. Obviously, it's a new API, which is great. So that's a good kind of trade-off. This is still in beta, bear in mind. But I think it's very, very close, of course. And here for it, I don't think it'll be making that big changes. But definitely that bundle size is a fair bit smaller. It's half the size there. And we are using a bit of, I guess we're not using everything, but we are using kind of the main, I think probably the main ones people will use. We're using the functions, we're using Firestore, we're using auth. And that didn't take too long, especially if I was a bit smarter about how, like Mush suggested, if I chucked them all into Firebase JS and exported them partially, then that could have been a lot nicer. That way I wouldn't have had to basically pass this in all the time. Yeah, I guess you could actually, I mean, you could just re-export their functions. And just pass that in, yeah. So then it could just be something like this. So, and then this function here would just do the, passing in the auth for you. And then you'd have a huge list of imports from Firebase, so then you might want to think about splitting those up, or just putting them all under one kind of namespace, etc. Funnily enough, the auth.sign in with pop-up still worked, and actually so did the if I undo this change here, so did the auth.signout. So I guess some of the functions do still work on it. Let's just double check those, and then I think I'll close up for today. But I want to know if that's the right way of doing it. Sign out, auth.signout. Auth, let's look at web. Oops. Or is that over here? Yeah, we are. Not quite sure where the sign out docs are. Sign out. See, there is a sign out function here. So actually, I guess they did say it was. It's a bit confusing why that would work, but we can do sign out from auth, and then just do sign out and pass in our auth. Oh, actually, you know what? I've not actually tested auth.signout. Let's see if that works. So, adding sign out. Yeah. Yeah, I guess it did work. Oh, sign in doesn't work. Hey, sign in doesn't work. Let's fix that. And that's probably because, again, auth sign in with pop-up. So there we go. So we probably want to remove this auth, and I think we want to take sign in with pop-up from here, and we want to pass in auth. I'm going to assume that's what we have to do because that's the same pattern as everything else. Yeah, at least they've kept it consistent, which is great. I mean, that makes it always makes it really easy to update when you can. There's a kind of a pattern and you don't need to look at the documentation to do that. So let's just do the sign out as well, actually. Why not? I'm just going to call sign out, and I'm going to pass in auth. Oops. Oops. Yeah, no, that's not right. Let's have a quick look at the docs there. Ah, okay, because it's shall we await it? There we go. Ah, okay, so one thing we probably should do as well is these return an unsubscribe. How does unsubscribe function? So we should probably close up. So like that. Can I just return this? I wonder. Maybe not. Let's check. And I think I need to do the same for app here. Let's return them. And let's just see if that error still throws. Ooh, yeah, did not like that either. I wonder if we can just do this. But why didn't it like that? It's a bit there. Okay, yeah, I think that's that. Add, complete, delete, sign up. Cool. Yeah, so I think that's everything. I think I'm gonna wrap it up there. Not that big of an update to depending on the size of your app, but it's, I mean, depending on how you export it. So like Mosh suggested, I think it'd be best to kind of consolidate that somehow. I'm not going to do that here. I need to wrap up just now, but I think the stream, hopefully the volume and the video and stuff are working okay. Hopefully the internet connection kept it up. I should probably use an Ethernet cable next time just to keep a better stable connection, but it seems to be being okay. Yeah, the main thing is the gzip size is, and actually the size in general is just halved. You can see 4.7 megabytes and 280 kilobytes down to 140 and 2.6 when upgrading to Firebase v9, and the API is similar-ish. Some you will need to change. Yeah, they are breaking changes, but it's not too big a deal. Yeah, so looking forward to that, I guess. Cool. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I shall see you guys in the next one. Bye.